His life in the fast lane, became the third leader of the Tour de France yesterday. The glamour boy of the Tour was yellow this morning.
Will you put a little bit more gel in your hair?
Yes. Yeah, I will put a bit more gel in my hair because it's going to be a very important day.
It took him 5 days, and Mario Cipollini has now got the lead in the Tour de France. They're not calling the yellow jersey this morning the Maillot Jaune, they're calling it the Mario Jaune. Mario Cipollini really is a flamboyant character. He enjoys winning the big races. Last night, James Richardson was with him.
Mario Cipollini is probably as famous for his outrageous media personality as he is for his cycling. However, it's very much the latter that's keeping him in the headlines at the moment. After the GBMG squad's great success in the team time trials, we caught up with the new race leader, Mario Il Magnifico, at the team's hotel just outside Avranches. Up in his room, Mario was wearing a victorious smile, if little else, as he enjoyed a post-race massage. I asked him how his legs felt.
Yeah, pretty tired. Team time trials are very exhausting, but with a high morale, the happiness of the victory and the yellow jersey, you don't feel the tiredness.
Almost all cycling fans will have heard of Super Mario's brags of how he hasn't been scared since he was 5 years old and how he likes to drive his Mercedes at 300 kilometers per hour. In person, though, he comes across as a reasonable, likeable, even down-to-earth kind of guy.
It's a problem of my press image. I can't manage to change it. Before, they called me the beach kid because I never raced after the Tour of Italy. Now I've come to the Tour de France, I've shown I can handle things. I'll try to change this label they've given me.
After the disaster of last year's Tour, when he suddenly retired and disappeared for the rest of the season, Mario's performances this time round certainly demand credit. He's taking the yellow jersey in his stride, though.
It's only for the press that the jersey's a big deal. Tomorrow, out on the road, we'll try and defend it and to carry it at least a few more days. It's a difficult task, but we'll try.
Well, this morning, Mario Cipollini leads Wilfred Nellison by just 6 seconds. Alex Zula's come up with his Once team into 3rd place, while Laurent Jalabert is 4th and Zenon Yaskula is 5th. Of the other big names, Eric Breukink shoots up the classification to 7th. Andy Hampston comes up to 13th. But Claudio Chiappucci goes down to 16th, along with Stephen Roach and Miguel Indurain, who lost time yesterday. A good ride, though, for Sean Yates. He's now up to 27th. And the world champion, Gianni Bugno, down to 31st. Raul Alcala is 43rd. Robert Miller is 83rd. But the big loser yesterday was Tony Rominger. He was to be in 88th position by losing over 3 minutes, but it gets even worse. He lost a further minute when the team was penalised for pushing during the race. He's now plummeted to 100th in the race.
Yeah, it's like that. I can't change it, but I hope they'll do it for all teams the same penalties. If we weren't the only team who was pushing another rider.
Do you think that's going to be very difficult because you've lost so much time in the Tour de France? You still hope to try and climb back up?
I think I will come a little bit back, but it's difficult to arrive on the podium.
And this is the route the riders face today. It's a long one, more than 220 kilometres, taking the riders away from Avranches in Normandy, heading up towards Evreux. Race leader Mario Cipollini resplendent in his new yellow jersey and not a hair out of place.
Racing conditions for the day, well, it'll be about 18 degrees Celsius in the morning, heating up as the day goes by. But the most important thing is the strong wind of the last 2 days has dropped, and that should favour breakaways.
And in the sunshine this morning, a confident Max Chiandri, the Derby-born professional.
Yeah, it's going to come soon, I'm sure.
An hour after the start and the first time bonus sprint at 12 o'clock, and it was Cipollini who was taking the bonus ahead of Wilfred Nellison. His lead now increased to 8 seconds overall.
First attack of the day came from Barney Rice of the Ariostia team. He went through the next time bonus sprint with a clear lead.
But that wasn't important. It was the battle again for second place now between the yellow jersey Cipollini, who was again finishing ahead of Wilfred Nellison. Cipollini's lead overall was now 10 seconds. After a breakaway which lasted for 2 hours and more than 87 kilometres, the Danish rider Barney Rice was back in the pack. Almost immediately, 14 riders went out on the attack.
As those riders move clear, a former Tour de France winner, Pedro Delgado, has trouble at the back, a front wheel puncture. But with his team manager, Jose Miguel Echavarri, pushing him off, he'll soon be back in the main field.
And so the 14 riders began to gain ground over the field, but then they were reduced as Jamaluddin Abdu-Japarov was among the riders who fell back with a puncture. So with Rees now back in the main field, an attack immediately, projecting 13 riders in the lead. And this, in fact, is Mario Sciria from the Gatorade team, Gianni Bugno's team. And this 13 riders could so easily have been 14, but Jamaluddin Abdu-Japarov, the sprinter, has punctured and fallen back. These are the other 12 riders, and the best placed rider in this breakaway at the moment is Johan Museu of Cipollini's GB team, and he's lying 9th overall, 58 seconds off his teammates' lead. Approaching the town of Bemcourt, and this breakaway being more or less stabilised now, Paul, at around 2 minutes.
Well, the teams behind have started to react. A very good tactic by the GB men covering the breakaway, especially with Johan Museu, because then it doesn't matter to them whatever happens to this breakaway, because he could take over the yellow jersey if he's successful. But it's a little bit strange at the moment to see Sciria jumping away, because if the 13 riders could work well together, well, then it would succeed. But there are too many riders in there who are fast finishers, so they're all watching each other at the moment, and Sciria is taking the advantage of that.
I think he sensed a lull in the chase group here, which now has split up completely. A number of riders seem to be dropping back towards the main field. That's Wilfred Peters at the front, trying to bring back the other Italian, Sciria, on the Gatorade team, as this group's trying now. Here's Edric van Hooijdonk, former winner of the Tour of Flanders Classic.
Looks as if there has been a split in this group, because I can't see Phil Anderson, who was in the group a little bit earlier, and it may well be that with all the little jumping around they were doing there, that Anderson has been dropped off the back. Peters there trying to bring it back together, because he wants this group to stay intact, so that if it does come to the finish, then Johan Museu has an excellent chance, because this kind of finish today really would suit him.
Indeed, the finish slightly uphill here in Evreux, about 2 kilometres uphill in fact, bringing the riders up to the finishing line. Not the sort of finish that Cipollini and Nelson will relish, and certainly somebody like the former champion of Belgium, Johan Museu, well, it's the sort of finish he would like. So Phil Anderson not evident in this group, and he was here earlier. But the interesting point is that Once and Venesto, the two top teams in the race with the expected favourites of Alex Zülle and Miguel Indurain, have missed this move, and so it's fallen upon them to try and close this race down again. It's interesting, Paul, that Indurain doesn't seem to be paying as much attention to these moves that perhaps he should.
Well, it's not all that important for him at the moment, because there's nobody in this breakaway who's a danger in the overall standings. I know Laurent Fignon is there, but Fignon is not the man you have to worry about as you did a couple of years ago. So for him, it isn't a problem if this break finishes 3 or 4 minutes in front, because these riders were going to finish 10 or 15 minutes behind him when we get to the first mountain stage.
And what mountains we've got in this year's Tour de France. 2 very tough days next week in the Alps, and then 3 very, very hard days spread over a 4-day period down in the Pyrenees when the race goes into the Principality of Andorra. There's Brian Holm on the left of our picture, having a very solid Tour de France. He's always up amongst the front runners, and the rider just coming through there from the GB team, and that was Wilfred Peters.
Just getting confirmation, in fact 3 riders have been dropped from this group, and one of those is Phil Anderson, the other is Laurent Fignon, who was in the group a little bit earlier, and Roscioli from the Carrera team. So there must have been some incredible attacking back there when they went after Sciria, and it looks as if Fignon has had to pay the price.
So there is a chance now to see the main field, and it is another team, the Chazal team, who are heading the chase here. They have nobody in that front group either, and the Onces and the workhorse of Neil Stevens. There's the 3 dropped riders Paul has just told us about. Anderson at the front, Laurent Fignon at the back. They're falling back into the main field, so they're leaving 10 riders out in the lead now in today's stage of the Tour de France, but the big field is hunting them down. We'll take a break. And welcome back to the Route du Tour de France. And a fine shot there of Sean Yates sitting to the right of our picture. The Motorola team have now reason to join the Onse team on the chase down now of this breakaway of 10 riders, because Phil Anderson has fallen back into the field, the man they had hoped might have picked up the stage win at the finish today in Evreux. But now, Paul, the gap has tumbled since Anderson came back into this group, and this chase back by the Motorola is clearly having its effect.
Well, obviously they know what the finish is like here. It's a very steep climb up to the finish line, and they may well want to prepare the sprint for Max Chiandri, but also Carrera have been in there, and the Onse team, so everybody now starting to work to bring it all back together.
And there's confirmation of the breakaway. It's down now to 27 seconds as Edwig van Hooijdonk, who picked up the last time bonus sprint a few moments ago at the 200-kilometre mark at Les Chênes-les-Mers, heads this chase in the leading group. Well, Van Hooijdonk, Paul, is a very good candidate for a likely win on the sort of climb we have here at Evreux.
Well, definitely, if this group can stay away just a little bit longer, I'm quite sure that somebody like Edwig van Hooijdonk or even Frans Maassen would try and escape away from this group. But one man that they would have to outfox is Johan Museeuw, who is 9th overall at the moment and candidate to take the yellow jersey if this group could stay away. But it's coming down very quickly now. It's now down to 20 seconds, and it won't be long. You see the Mavic, the yellow service car there, the neutral service car going by, which means that in no time at all the whole field will be back together.
I think Brian Holmes realised it. He's looked over his shoulder here. It's been a good, healthy attack, but I'm afraid it's coming to nothing. And this is going to open up now a whole new can of worms here, because a lot of riders today, and not just the big sprinters, will fancy their chances of victory at Evreux. It is not a simple run-in. It is uphill, and it is not the sort of run-in that Cipollini and Nelson will find quite so easy to command the front of the race. Very good breakaway, but I think it's going to come down to capture in the next few kilometres, maybe indeed in the next 2 or 3 kilometres. Just to look at some of your questions, and believe me, we have pages of them today by fax, but 1 or 2 of you are asking why some of the riders don't wear crash helmets. Well, I should point out that wearing of crash helmets is not compulsory, and it is purely the choice of the riders, and the vast majority of riders do not like wearing crash helmets. As regards the stage winners' prizes each day, they race for a first day prize every day of £5,800. And many of you are wondering why Francois Simon was wearing the King of the Mountains jersey after the prologue time trial, when in fact there was a small climb on the prologue circuit last Saturday, and each rider was individual timed up that climb. The man who did the fastest time on the climb was given the leader's jersey in the King of the Mountains competition, and that was Francois Simon, who is no longer the leader in that competition.
And we can see just round the corner now there's no more than 200 metres, and as soon as they come back together, I'm quite sure we'll see a lot more attacks coming.
That's where we are on the Côte de Glissol, the last small climb of the day, 4th category, and just before they're wiped out, as Van Hooijdonk goes again, I will give you the names of these 10 riders. Gianluca Bortolami from the Lampre team, Christian Hen from Telecom, Frans Maassen from Word Perfect, Johan Museeuw from the GB team, Ronan Pensek from Novomai. The rider we're looking down at the moment is Bortolami, pushing on here for the Lampre team. Martin Den Bakker, former champion of Holland in the amateurs, he's from the TVM squad. Wilfred Peters we've seen. Mario Sciria from Gatorade, Van Hooijdonk, Word Perfect, and Brian Holmes. They are the 10 riders who have been setting the pace, as we now watch Gianluca Bortolami seeing if he can slip the attention of the race as it more or less regroups behind him. He's used the climb of the Côte de Glissol as a springboard. Now let's see who's coming up to him. One rider is coming up to him, and this is the TVM rider, so we're going to see here Martin Den Bakker join him. Big strong rider on the TVM squad, the former amateur champion of Holland, and he's powerhousing up to him. This is the remnants of the breakaway, and Van Hooijdonk, he doesn't seem to do a thing right. He's always attacking. His teammate Frans Maassen is up the road now, but Van Hooijdonk always seems to stay in the same position.
Well, he's always been trying to mark the moves that were going away there. He's obviously very worried about Johan Museeuw in this break, and it would just a nice move there. He let Maassen come through to jump away, but again, Johan Museeuw very active and watching all these moves, because he can feel that if they can just hang on for a little bit more, Maassen could well take the stage here.
underneath the 10 kilometres banner. That's 6 miles to go to the finish, and we've got 2 leaders, Gianluca Bortolami and Martin Den Bakker of the TVM team. And the main field, well, you can see for yourself, they're all crowding underneath that same 10-kilometre banner, and this breakaway now is almost swept up. From the front looking back, you can see the main peloton. And there's 1 or 2 more of this leading group for scrabbling their way up to the front runners. It's not over yet. It's a very difficult time, psychological time of the stage today.
It's no longer the 10 riders that it was before. It's now down to about 6. The 2 word perfect riders are in there, Frans Maassen and Edwig van Hooijdonk, but also the 2 GB riders, Johan Museo and Wilfred Peters. Bortolami still in there. He's the man who caused the split in that, and as 6 riders together now, they may still stand a chance of holding off the rest of the field.
Well, there's Frans Maassen going through our picture, a very good candidate. It would be his sort of finish. We finished here at Evreux on this little climb twice before in recent years, and they've been the non-sprinters who've come up. That was the result of the little climb we just saw. Bortolami taking the prize, Van Hooijdonk chasing him down, Johan Museo over there in 3rd place. It looks like a Lotto rider going out on the attack.
They've not had a superb tour so far this year. A terrible ride in the team time trial yesterday, and Jean-Luc Van den Broek really having a hard time because most of his riders really have been poached by some of the other teams. Johan Museo was on his squad last year, and it's a question of other teams with the big money picking up the riders that Van den Broek has developed. In fact, he's had a hard day today with Peter Farazijn involved in a crash earlier as we go under the 4-kilometre banner there. Peter Farazijn is a long way behind the race at the moment, over 12 minutes at the moment.
And in danger of being eliminated from the Tour de France. Looks like it could be Dagot Lauritsen now on the front of the field, ahead of Giron. And then the Motorola teams and attack down the right-hand side of the road. And this is, in fact, the Once team having a go. No, it's Amaya, it's Per Pedersen who's having a go. Well, the Danes try every day to escape in the last couple of kilometres. They know they're on television, live back home. And they really have put on the show. We had that long breakaway early on today by Bjorn Ries. And now Per Pedersen going for gold, as indeed Skibby has tried in days gone by, and Ries himself, and Jürgen Pedersen. But this is Per Pedersen now on the attack, coming down towards the start of the little climb up towards the finishing line.
Well, he's tried this move a couple of times, 2 kilometres to go. In the recent Tour DuPont race in America, he jumped away in the final kilometres and then just got caught with about 200 metres to go, and I think that is going to be his end today because the field don't want to let anybody go. It looks as if we're going to come to the bottom of the climb here with 1 kilometre to go altogether.
Now the field fanning out as they approach the final kilometre. The Telecom team getting control at the front, thinking of their man Ludwig, who might well finish off because he's a strong sprinter. Although he's not climbing so well this year, he's lost a little bit of his early speed, I think. But these riders are going as fast as they possibly can now to keep their position at the head of the field and hope that the riders they want to win from their team are hanging in there, not too far off the wheel. And so the field in the Tour de France now 1 kilometre to go as they start the run at the finish. The Telecom team are driving the train, but there are a lot of riders here who are anxious to have a go. There's an attack on the right of the road, and it's coming, I think, from Johan Capio.
Skibby, another Danish rider going down the line there. It's amazing, both of these Danish riders coming back from crashes. This could be the way to get it. Skibby's got the gap there because they're behind. The Telecom team have sat up. Skibby has now got 20 or 30 metres clear.
Well, that's a superb move by Jesper Skibby, the rider who crashed so badly in Tirreno Adriatico this year. So badly, in fact, the doctors thought he wouldn't live. Then he came back to form. He won a stage in the recent Tour of Italy and now looking for a stage in the Tour de France. Skibby now is totally committed and going clear. They've tried daily, these Danish riders. Now he's in last 400 metres. Now it's 300 metres. Skibby has hit them at exactly the right moment, and I think he's done it right. Jesper Skibby on the line. Remember, a couple of years ago, it was Acacio da Silva did this. They caught him on the line, but they didn't pass him, and it could be the same today, because the sprinters are now building up behind. Skibby must be tiring very, very rapidly here as he goes for line. Ludwig nearest the camera. The sprinters start to open up. Skibby has done it, and he doesn't believe it. A superb victory for Jesper Skibby on the line as Nellison popped up. I think Nellison may have taken second place, and if Nellison has taken that second place, well, he'll be very, very close indeed to pulling on the yellow jersey tonight.
Okay. Congratulations, man.
And now we can see that special sprint for second place. Nellison is the rider who's come right through on the inside here, nearest the bottom of our picture, and he's going well clear. There's no doubt, in fact, that he's going to take the second place. But by my calculations, Nellison is now once more the leader of this year's Tour de France. He's won it by miles. And there you can see the win for Jesper Skibby and a clear second place for Wilfried Nellison. And Mario Cipollini will have noted that, because he knows now his yellow jersey has gone back to Wilfried Nellison tonight. A well-judged finish today by Jesper Skibby. Not a great sprinter, but he didn't have to be today, did he? He wins by a second from Wilfried Nellison, and Andrea Ferrigato was third, and Max Chandri, trying for the Motorola team, comes home in fourth place. I'm not surprised that Jesper Skibby is smiling on the podium tonight, because he now becomes the first Danish rider to win a stage of all of the 3 major races in the world. He's already done it in the Tour of Spain and last year in the Tour of Italy. Now he's done it in the Tour de France. Here's Paul Sherwin with the winner.
That was an incredible move there. We've seen you try so many times, but today was the big one.
I am very happy. I owe my team everything. Our team has been unbelievable. The team spirit unbelievable. When I was out after my accident, the team has been riding everything for me and really filled out the gap. So this is just as much for the team as it is for me.
I've seen you so close so many times in the Kellogg's Tour, but that was something unbelievable when you crossed the line there.
I was very nice, and I come back in Kellogg's.
But that win today has done nothing to put Jesper Skibby up among the front runners of this year's Tour de France. Now the pendulum has swung again, back in the favour of Wilfried Nellison. 2 seconds advantage over Mario Cipollini. Up from 4th to 3rd is Laurent Jalabert. Down from 3rd to 4th is his teammate Alex Zula. Remember, all of the results of today's stage of the Tour de France can be found on Fortel on page 350. Now, it's not too late to enter our competition. We'd like you to name the winner of Sunday's stage into Verdun. And all those who do will go into the hat, and one of you will win the race leader's yellow jersey of the Tour de France, signed by him. You should now make your selection by phone, please. This is the number: 0839 444554. Tomorrow the Tour de France goes up towards Amiens before it goes east, and eventually will begin to drop south towards the Alps. The Tour de France is hotting up. But today it wasn't a sprinter, it was the opportunist, Jesper Skibby. 500 yards to go, he surprised all of the field and stayed clear till the end for his greatest victory. Until we meet tomorrow on the roads of the Tour de France, with Paul Sherwin, James Richardson and me, Phil Liggett, goodbye.